Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. You know, we all overthink sometimes. Sometimes it feels like my brain just won't stop.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So today we're going to dive into this article called How to Stop Overanalyzing Everything. 9 no-nonsense steps.
Sounds promising. 9 steps.
We'll see how no-nonsense they really are.
Right.
But hopefully by the end of this, we'll all know a little bit more about why we overthink and how to stop it, or at least manage it a little better.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So right off the bat, this article starts with this pretty funny example about overanalyzing a cup of coffee.
Oh, really?
Like, you know, you're at somebody's house and they bring you a cup of coffee.
Right.
And you're kind of looking at it and you think, oh, that's kind of a cool design on the cup.
Yeah, I like that.
Which, you know, I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
But then they contrast that with this whole internal monologue about why the person chose that specific cup. Like, you know, are they trying to impress me?
Yeah.
Is this their favorite cup? You know, does this reveal something deep about their personality?
Uh-oh.
And it's like, whoa. It's just a cup of coffee.
Right. Easy there, brain.
Exactly. And I think we've all been there, right? Where our thoughts just kind of spiral out of control. Do you ever do that?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Absolutely. I think we all have those moments where we just can't seem to shut our brains off. It's like our minds are on this constant quest to dissect and overthink every single little detail.
That's exhausting.
Oh, it's so draining.
Yeah. The article even talks about how overanalyzing can actually manifest physically.
Like how?
Well, you know, you might notice physical tension, like tight shoulders or a racing heart.
Right. Oh.
Or maybe you even find yourself like hyperventilating a little bit.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it's basically your body's way of saying like, hey, chill out.
It's that stress response, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
because essentially overanalyzing is a form of anxiety.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and the article also mentions things like anxious fidgeting and unfocused eyes as signs you might be overthinking.
Okay, so it's not just in our heads. It really does show up in our bodies, too.
Totally. And you know, it's interesting. The article points out a connection between overanalyzing and people-pleasing.
Huh. I never thought about that.
Yeah, like it suggests that this might stem from past experiences where maybe you faced criticism or you felt this constant need to seek approval.
So it's like overanalyzing becomes a way of trying to protect yourself, especially if you've been hurt or let down in the past.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're always trying to anticipate what other people are thinking or feeling.
So you can avoid any potential conflict or disappointment.
Exactly. And the article uses this really interesting analogy to describe this. They call it the sailor analogy.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What's the sailor analogy?
Well, just like experienced sailors are always scanning the horizon for signs of storms, people who have faced difficult situations might overanalyze to try and anticipate potential threats. It's a form of hypervigilance, always being on high alert.
Oh, I get it. Like you're always looking out for danger, even when there might not be any.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? If you've been through tough times, it's totally understandable that your brain might be kind of wired to be on high alert, trying to prevent history from repeating itself.
Yeah, I can see that.
And you know, this tendency to overanalyze can become even more pronounced if you have underlying mental health concerns, like anxiety, OCD, or PTSD.
Right. Those conditions can definitely fuel those overthinking patterns.
Absolutely. But the good news is the article reassures us that even if we've had difficult experiences, we can learn to differentiate past threats from present situations.
So it's not about ignoring our past, but rather learning to be more present and not letting fear control our lives.
Exactly. And that leads us to the 9 strategies. The first one's kind of interesting. It's all about leaning into the discomfort.
Leaning in. So not trying to avoid those worries.
Yeah. Instead of trying to push those worries away, the article suggests actually writing them down. Like, list out your worries.
Yeah.
Imagine the worst case scenarios.
Okay.
And then brainstorm potential solutions.
So it's like creating a plan of action for your anxiety.
Right. And I can see how that might help you feel more in control.
It's like taking the power away from those anxieties by showing yourself that you can handle them.
Yeah, it's like facing those fears head on, and you realize like, oh, they're not as scary as I thought they were.
Right.
And if those worries are still lingering, the next strategy is all about distraction.
Distraction.
But not just any distraction.
Okay.
We're talking about challenging activities that require both mental and physical engagement.
Oh, so you really got to focus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things that force you to be truly present in the moment.
I like that.
The article suggests activities like carpentry, baking,
Okay.
or, you know, any hobby that demands focus and physical movement.
I can see how that would be helpful.
Because when you're fully immersed in learning a new skill or, mastering a physical task, it becomes much harder for those overthinking patterns to take hold.
It's like you're giving your brain a break.
Yeah, a much needed break.
From its usual routine of analyzing and dissecting everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so strategy number 3 is all about working it out.
Working it out.
Physically. Exactly. The article suggests activities like hitting the gym, relaxing in a sauna, or getting a massage.
All good things.
All these activities can help release pent-up tension, which is often a physical manifestation of overthinking.
Oh, that's a good point. I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders.
Yeah, it's like acknowledging that overanalyzing isn't just a mental process.
Right.
It affects our bodies, too.
Absolutely. That tension you feel in your shoulders, that tightness in your chest.
Yeah.
Those are all signs that your body needs a release.
Totally.
Yeah.
And for those who might have mobility limitations or, prefer a less physically intensive approach, the article suggests guided meditation.
Okay. Yeah.
Focusing on relaxing each part of your body can be incredibly effective.
It really is. It's amazing how much tension we hold without even realizing it.
Yeah. And, the article also mentioned some interesting alternatives like physical meditation using objects.
Oh, like what?
Things like prayer beads or smooth stones, or even those, squishy stress balls.
Oh, yeah.
And incorporating aromatherapy with calming scents like lavender or eucalyptus can also enhance the experience.
Oh, I love lavender. That's a good idea.
It's all about finding what works best for you.
Right.
Okay, strategy number 4 is all about taking things at face value.
Okay.
No more searching for hidden meanings or second-guessing people's intentions.
Just believe what they say.
Yeah, it's a simple but powerful shift. Choosing to trust that what people say and do is genuine,
right,
without automatically assuming there's some ulterior motive.
I like that. Like giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and especially in relationships, that can be so freeing.
Oh, absolutely.
The article gives the example of your partner giving you a gift.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of overanalyzing the meaning behind it,
right,
just appreciate the gesture.
Yeah.
Because often our overanalyzing leads us down these rabbit holes of negativity.
That's true.
We start seeing problems where none exist. And that can create unnecessary drama and conflict.
Oh, for sure.
And the article wisely reminds us that if there is a genuine problem, it will surface eventually.
Right.
There's no need to borrow trouble from the future by overthinking every little thing in the present.
So true.
Okay, so strategy number 5 is about creating your own closure.
Creating your own closure. Interesting.
And this is a really important one because sometimes we just crave a sense of resolution.
Right.
But often that closure isn't something we can get from others.
Yeah, that's true.
It's something we have to create for ourselves.
You have to be at peace with it yourself.
Right. We can't control other people's actions or explanations.
True.
But we can control how we choose to move forward.
So it's about recognizing that ruminating on the past keeps us stuck.
Exactly.
By choosing to create our own closure, we free ourselves to focus on the present and the future.
And that leads perfectly into strategy number 6, which reminds us that we do have control over our thoughts.
I bet.
We might not be able to stop those intrusive thoughts from popping up,
right,
but we can choose how we respond to them.
Right. Okay.
It's about taking back our power. Instead of letting those thoughts control us, we can acknowledge them, see if there's a lesson to be learned, and then let them go.
Oh, I like that. That's good advice.
The article uses the example of a painful relationship.
Yeah.
You can extract the valuable lessons from that experience,
right,
but you don't have to let the negativity consume you.
Learn from it and move on.
Yeah. It's like saying, thank you for the lesson, but I'm moving on.
Yeah.
And if those thoughts keep coming back,
yeah,
the article suggests a really clever trick. Reprogram your response.
Reprogram out. Okay. Tell me more.
So instead of getting caught up in the negativity, use those recurring thoughts as a reminder to do something positive, like hydrating or taking a deep breath.
So it's like turning a negative into a positive.
Exactly. Those intrusive thoughts become cues for self-care.
I love that.
Okay, and speaking of cues, strategy number 7 is all about asking for clarification instead of assuming.
Ooh, that's a good one.
This is something I definitely struggle with.
Me too.
Like my mind tends to just fill in the blanks with the worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
But the article highlights how our assumptions often lead to overthinking and unnecessary worry.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to read between the lines, it encourages open communication.
Just ask.
Yeah.
So much easier.
If something is unclear, don't be afraid to just ask for clarification.
I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for clarification.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The article provides a great example using like a boss's feedback scenario.
Okay.
So let's say your boss gives you a seemingly lukewarm compliment on a project.
No, yeah.
Instead of overanalyzing it, suggest a meeting to discuss the project further
Oh.
and seek more specific guidance.
So you get clarification and show initiative.
Exactly.
That's smart.
And who knows, you might even discover that your boss was actually very impressed with your work.
Right.
Okay. Now, this next strategy really surprised me.
Okay, what is it?
Strategy number 8 brings up a potential link between overanalyzing and anxiety to nutritional deficiencies.
Really? Like what kind of deficiencies?
Specifically low B12 or vitamin D levels. Wow, I never would have thought about that connection.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It's a good reminder that our mental and physical health are so interconnected.
They really are. You can't have one without the other.
Exactly. And the article suggests that this is especially relevant for people with restrictive diets or those who might have issues with gut absorption.
Right, makes sense.
It might be worth talking to your doctor about getting your blood work checked just to rule out any potential deficiencies.
Always a good idea to check in with your doctor if you're feeling off.
Absolutely. So that was strategy number 8. We've covered 8 strategies. What's the final one?
The last strategy, and perhaps the most important of all, is to stay present.
Oh, I can see how that ties into everything we've talked about. When we're caught up in overthinking, we're often either dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
Exactly. And the article really emphasizes the importance of grounding ourselves in the present moment. It's about shifting our focus away from those mental loops that keep us stuck in worry or regret.
It poses some great questions too, like what's happening right now?
Oh, yeah.
And is your overthinking worth missing out on this moment?
Those are good ones to ask yourself. Yeah.
Right. Those are really powerful questions to ask ourselves when we feel that mental chatter taking over.
They really are. It's a challenge to prioritize our present experience over those mental time-traveling tendencies that often lead to overanalyzing. Because ultimately, overanalyzing is often rooted in fear of the future or regret about the past.
It's so easy to get caught up in those what-ifs and should-have-dones.
It is.
But staying present helps us break free from that mental trap and allows us to truly experience the now.
It's like taking a deep breath and saying to yourself, this is all that matters right now.
I love that. And it's encouraging that the article ends on a really positive note. It reminds us that overthinking isn't always a bad thing. It means we have an active mind.
It does, yeah. It means we're capable of deep thought, analysis, and problem solving.
The key is to manage it, not let it control our lives.
Right.
Overanalyzing can actually be a strength when it's channeled effectively.
I agree with that.
I can see how it could help us make more informed decisions, anticipate challenges, and maybe even come up with creative solutions. It's about using that analytical power for good.
Exactly like any tool, it needs to be used wisely.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about, and it sparked a question for me that the article didn't specifically address. Could overanalyzing actually be helpful in certain situations?
That's a great question, and I think it's worth exploring. Perhaps there are times when that ability to thoroughly analyze a situation, to consider all the angles, could be beneficial.
It reminds us that it's not about eliminating overthinking altogether.
Right.
It's about understanding it, learning to manage it, and even harnessing its power when appropriate. And if those overthinking habits start to feel overwhelming, remember there's no shame in seeking professional help.
Absolutely. A therapist can provide personalized guidance and support to help you navigate those thought patterns and develop healthy coping strategies.
This has been a fantastic deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from understanding the root causes of overanalyzing to exploring practical strategies for taking back control of our thoughts.
I hope you found this exploration helpful and that you feel empowered to implement some of these strategies in your own life.
And remember, those overthinking gremlins might try to sneak back in, but you've got the tools to handle them now.
You do.
Keep practicing those strategies, stay present, and don't forget to give yourself some grace along the way.
We all overthink. Sometimes it's part of being human. But now you have a toolkit to help you navigate those moments with more awareness and self-compassion.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep those minds curious, but remember to give them a break every now and then.